Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley. On this week's program, City of Barrie, like many others, trying to get a handle on homelessness and homeless encampments. The issue coming to a head this summer with the deaths of 2 men at one encampment and a new one springing up at the courthouse. We'll hear from the mayor on what the city is doing and wants to do, and from the Busby Centre on how it's trying to help. We'll also get an update on a new police initiative downtown that has found some success over the summer. We get the conversation started after this. The homeless issue not going away, in fact, seems to have worsened in recent months. All levels of government grappling with it, struggling to find solutions, but they are not coming easy and certainly not coming quickly. Many pieces to this puzzle. Barrie 360's Ian Maclennan with 2 conversations this week. The first with Mayor Alex Nuttall.
Welcome, Mayor Nuttall. Obviously, the radar has been on that former encampment, the tragedy about a suspect charged with a homicide, 2 counts involving a pair of individuals. We're not going to talk about the police aspect. That's out of your hands, but let's talk about that encampment. The work is going on to clear the encampment in terms of cleaning it up. Do we have a tab yet on how much that cost will impact the budget?
I think the encampment cleanup is going to take months, not days, not weeks. And when you think about this encampment has been around for a decade, it's probably longer than that. But certainly, I remember it being around around the end of the time I was on Barrie City Council, and so this is an encampment that has tons of tents, tons of structures. It has tons of folks who are living in there. And unfortunately, we know now that there was a double homicide that was committed either in or around the encampment. And, as you said, the police are moving towards that piece. But when it comes to the effect on our budget, we'll have to wait and see what the total cost will be. I think, I'm frustrated. I think the residents of Barrie are frustrated with how many folks are living rough or homeless, with the disrespect for the areas that are being lived in. We saw an immense amount of garbage, waste going directly into creeks and into ponds. We saw a lot of very, very difficult things for our environment and for our city, and the amount of needle waste and other things like that. We need to have a city that is clean. We need to have a city that is not rampant with encampments. And yet, again, on Thursday, I believe it was, there was a new court ruling in Kitchener that has resulted in an injunction against the removal of an encampment there. And so the struggle for the city of Barrie continues as we try to remove these types of encampments and structures. The reality is the courts continue to set precedents or grant injunctions, and in some cases there'll be permanent rulings probably in November that leave municipalities like Barrie, like Kitchener, like Brantford unable to clean up their towns or be offside with the courts.
Your Chief Administrative Officer, Michael Prowse, indicated several weeks ago we could be talking millions of dollars for this cleanup. Who owned that piece of property where that encampment was? Is that city property?
Yeah, it's all city property.
Previous administration, too, this encampment didn't just flourish when you became mayor. It's been there for a while. Did you ever go down to take a look at it? Did anybody from the city go to see what was going on there? And just
I'd done a walkthrough, a small walkthrough of just the kind of the edge of it about a year ago. And as you know, maybe it was a year and a half ago. I don't know the exact date on top of my head, but one of the interesting things is since then we've been asking the province to give us the legislative power to remove these encampments, to invest in things like the heart hubs and the shelters and the addictions and rehab support that are needed. And over the last year and a half, the province actually has come to the table with a lot of funding for Simcoe County to be able to deliver these types of services for residents who are living homeless in the city of Barrie. As you know, there's a little bit of a disconnect here in the sense that the county of Simcoe is the one who's responsible by law in our Ontario legislature to deliver these services. It's actually the city of Barrie can't. So it's a disconnect, because while the city of Barrie and our council is taking this very, very seriously, trying to remove encampments, trying to find supports, granted an additional $1.65 million 2 years ago, as you'll recall, the dependence on the county to actually deliver these services to help these people or to move them into housing, that is just all with the county, and it's quite frustrating.
But the county, we got the Rose Street development that's going up. There was Tiffin Street with E. Fry. There's Lucy's Place on Esser Road. But those things don't happen overnight. I'm just wondering what you as mayor, you obviously have a voice at the county to.
No, we don't.
But you have a voice in terms of just you going to the county and saying, hey, behind closed doors, we need help.
We don't have a voice at the county.
So what are they saying to you?
We sit on a subcommittee of the county of Simcoe, and the reality is that the structure right now is that the mayors of municipalities with 10,000 people are dictating the policies with regards to homelessness inside the city of Barrie, because that's the way it's set up, right? And what we need is to have a more comprehensive approach to this. If you go through the budgets, I was spending some time on this last week because I'm trying to figure out where we can get the money from. If we go to the province, they say, hey, we've given the money to the county of Simcoe, which they have. The county of Simcoe is the service manager. The feds, they give money to the county of Simcoe. The city of Barrie each year sends money to the county of Simcoe, as do all of the other member municipalities in the city of Aurelia. So as we look at this situation and how difficult it is, what we actually need in the city of Barrie is the silos to disappear, and we need everybody working in the same direction.
When you say silos, just for people that aren't clear, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean right now, I believe that we have a police department that is going to follow through on all of the legislative changes the province has brought forward in 6 and 10. Which gives them the authority to be able to deal with encampments or boulevards or parks or open usage of drugs and those types of things. We have a bylaw department that is saying, yes, we're going to enforce our bylaws, assuming that there is the proper number of spaces open in order for that encampment to be removed, in the sense that if the county is providing the right number of rooms, and
you're talking
beds,
shelter beds?
Exactly, and beds, then the city of Barrie can act on removing these encampments. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like, if you want help in the city of Barrie, we want to help you. If you don't want help and you want to live in a life of addiction or live in an encampment, like, this just ain't the place for you, right? And please feel free to find somewhere that wants folks that are living that way. We don't want that in the city of Barrie. We don't consider it safe. We do think that these are fire risks for those who are living there. We do think that there are obviously criminal elements that exist inside of these encampments, as was very clear a couple of weeks ago.
What do those people need? The resources. We got the Heart Hub that's being set up. It's going to take some time to get everything coordinated. Some people mentally may not even be able to access services, don't know where to go. Where do you balance the understanding what their people are going through to what the needs are within the city of Barrie? Use Hamilton as an example. Former NDP leader Andrea Horvath has made it clear that public parks are for the public and encampments have been cleared. I'm just wondering, where do you find this balance?
Well, I think that the balance is that our parks are for kids and they're not for living in as a person who's homeless. And that is balance, in the sense that they were designed to be for children. They were designed to be for families. They were designed to be for sports. They weren't designed to pitch a tent or to do drugs in. I think what your real question that you're asking is, like, how do you balance out the number of folks in our community who are living homeless? And if you don't have the support from the county to deliver the housing that you're expecting, what do we do? I think that's actually what your question is.
We don't have enough shelter beds.
Exactly.
The encampment has been removed, but there are no extra beds available, according to the Busby Centre. That is a shelter for those that are homeless, adult. There's a location on Tiffin Street, former paramedic location, the former cop shop, but no beds. So we have seen an influx of tents at the courthouse, et cetera. There's so many levels that have got us to where we are today, and not just in Barrie.
Well, you remember 7 years ago, I went before council and requested that they take a drastic step of declaring an emergency related to the opioid crisis and cleaning up what was evidently becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Here we are a number of years later after COVID, which I think obviously exacerbated these issues and made them worse. So, as we look forward to this week and next week, there's going to be some further decisions made on how we proceed forward. But I'm certainly going to be looking at taking my own advice from 7 years ago.
State of emergency, what would that allow a city to do?
Yeah, I think you'll have to wait for us to come out with those policies. We're working on them as we speak. We've been getting both legal opinions and seeking those in other municipalities who have gone through the similar steps. But when you look at what the City of Barrie is doing to provide for affordable housing, we just waive DCs. Any building that puts 20% affordable housing in their building, you don't pay a single development charge. This is a contribution of, in some cases, $5 and $10 million in revenue that we are saying we don't need from the city to facilitate that happening. We're actually using the community improvement plan money to support the creation of, I think, 32 transitional units here in the City of Barrie. We've supported, as you said, right up at the top of this, we've supported numerous local organizations. When you think about the Salvation Army and many others. And we continue to literally beg the county to deliver on the services that they are responsible for. And until we get that whole relationship figured out, and we're in a position where we have the correct number of individuals being able to be put into space, that this issue is just going to keep on getting worse. And so that's the focus, is working on the county, working on the province, using any resources we have to provide.
Some municipalities have, like Kitchener, Peterborough, have looked at so-called cabins, whatever you want to call them, to house 50 people, maybe 100. Hasn't eliminated the issue of homelessness or encampments.
Well, you see with Kitchener, right? Let's use that as an example. So they created an area with tiny homes, encampments. Then
better tent city, they call it.
Yeah, grew around it. Then they still have the issues where they're not able to proceed with their new transit terminal because an encampment is on that site as well. And even though they have that space, the courts have stepped in with injunction against Kitchener to stop them from removing the individuals who were on the site where they're trying to put in their new transit terminal. So, I mean, these things that are being talked about as, well, these are solutions, clearly aren't solutions.
No, and I don't think Kitchener's ever acknowledged that it was a solution, or Peterborough, but it's something. Has the city, do you think it's worth exploring?
Well, Kitchener did that with their region, right?
Waterloo.
So with the entire region. So what they've been doing is working. So the region goes in and they provide the services. Kitchener set aside some land, and we still see massive encampments. I'm not familiar with the Peterborough situation, so I'm not going to comment on it, but I think that you have to remember these individual municipalities are not going into it alone. They're part of a grander governance structure, or in the case of Toronto, they are an independent city, and there's some other independent cities like Brantford, that has gone in, and there's no tents in Brantford. There's some folks living homeless and staying on benches or pieces of their downtown, but they've removed all encampments because they have all of the services under the city of Brantford. Unlike us in the City of Barrie, where we have part of the service, which would be to remove the actual tent, but we don't have any of the services under us that would be there helping get rooms or get help.
You, as big city mayor, 13 mayors asked the Premier Ford the notwithstanding clause to clear encampments if the courts are holding it up. Nothing's happened that way. The province has increased funding. Do you still want the Premier to go down that path? Is that a card you'd like him to play?
I expect every government to play every card they can to deal with this crisis that's in every downtown in the country. And so, I think there's a few things here. The notwithstanding clause is something that I've been very vocal on, very supportive of. We're not there yet, obviously. But if you think about all of the judgments that have been made, granting injunctions or permanently stopping encampments from being removed, these have all been federal judges. And so this isn't just a provincial problem. This is something that where we have a judicial system on the federal level appointing judges, those judges making decisions about what municipalities can or cannot do. And then we fall into the argument with the notwithstanding clause, right? And so I think there's a number of things that need to be done on a number of levels to allow municipalities to be able to clean up our streets and clean up our parks and make sure that they are being used for those whom they were designed for.
What does it say as a society? Just and it's not just Barrie again. It's north. It's every municipality is dealing with it, from Timmins to Toronto, that we have these encampments. The main issues: affordable housing, the opioid crisis, which has magnified it. Some people don't want to live in the shelter system either because maybe stuff gets stolen or they don't like the rules. Mm-hmm. They don't want to play by the rules. That's a fact too. What does it say as a society, though? Like, where you or the city wants to be understanding, but at the same time, again, we balance that with.
Yeah, I think that the balance that you're talking about, the way that I say it is, I've heard said on the show, I'll just say it again, which is if you want help, we want to be here to help you, and if you don't want help, this is not a good fit, right? We're a city that's built on younger families and the growth of that kind of demographic, along with those who've grown up here. And so that the tension that exists between an encampment and a family going to the park is real, right? These aren't empty parks. These are parks that are used quite often. The piece about society as a whole, I think that there was a really, really, really poor experiment done with injection sites. I think there was a lot of funding put into them. There was, a lot of locations set aside. As I recall, I think it was 20 in Ontario. In Vancouver, there was 22 of them at one point. Some of them sanctioned, some of them not sanctioned. And so we went down the road of funding injection sites, but we didn't go down the road of funding rehabilitative services or support services or mental health services, which is actually the core of the problem. And that's when the $1.65 million that we talked about from a couple of years ago, we tried to put in places that made sense on that front. I was, against an injection site being opened here in the city of Barrie. I think time is showing that, I happen to be correct on that issue. And we're seeing more and more folks that need rehab, not injection sites. Yeah. But the Heart Hub needs to get open, right? Like these Heart Hubs, if you think about society trying to meet the day on the problem, it is the Heart Hubs. There's not one destined for every municipality in Ontario. Maybe there should be. We need to get the proof out of the pilots up front to be able to support that. But the reality is, if those are able to be opened, if they're able to be implemented in a way that's actually affecting change in a positive way, I think we'll all be much better for it, and so will society.
I'll finally say Guelph and Toronto had safe injection sites. They say deaths are now up because there isn't a safe place to go, so to speak, to do what they do. How would you respond to that, though? That the lack of those sites has resulted in a spike in deaths. Like,
according to those advocacy groups, according to the individuals who were inside of there, and I haven't seen an actual study on this. I've seen a headline, so I'd be speaking kind of off the cuff on it. But if you think about the philosophy of what we're trying to achieve is individuals getting better, not individuals sitting inside of the state of drug addiction. So for me, the focus on the Heart Hubs, the focus on the rehab, the focus on getting better needs to be at the core of everything we do. Where you've seen the creation of the injection sites, and specifically without the rehab directly attached to it, we know there's a massive increase of drug encounters around it. We know there's a massive increase in crime around it. We know there's a massive increase in some of these criminal activities that we don't want to see, like assaults, like sexual assaults, like the petty theft. It's something that just goes rampant. And so, these are not centers where you're seeing people get help and get fixed. Injection sites are centers where people are enabled to do drugs and hopefully have a nurse or a healthcare professional around them when they're getting high. I prefer we have nurses and healthcare practitioners around them when they're getting help and moving forward. And that's why I say, if the city of Barrie is a place where you want to get help and move forward in your life, we want to help that happen. We've been, advocating for that You could say, I believe that you would agree that the Heart Hub funding came in response to the request that I led on behalf of mayors across Ontario. The shelter space increase in funding is here because of the advocacy that I've done with other mayors around Ontario and leading the way on that. So we've had a real impact on getting the dollars onto the ground. The reality is in the City of Barrie, once those dollars leave the provincial hands, they don't come to the City of Barrie. They do go to the County of Simcoe. And so we're very reliant on our partners there.
Finally, if you don't want help, what's the message to those that don't want help? And I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. If you don't want help and you're here to live in a state of addictions, I'm sure there's better places that aren't Barrie for you to go. We are a place that we take a lot of pride in our community. We want every park to be safe, every bit of our city to be safe. And if you want help and you want to be part of our community, we want to help you get there. We'll make sure that we can find transitional housing. We'll make sure we can find affordable housing. But what we can't have is a city where individuals think it's okay to just live in a state of addictions, to live homeless, and to impact those around them.
If everybody, that's not going to happen, who was on the streets, addiction, wanted help, realistically, they just can't get it today or the next day or the next month, though.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think there's about 30 spaces in the Heart Hub now active. Their goal is to have a turnaround between every 30 and 60 days for those individuals so they can move into transitional housing and have the helps to move from getting off of the addictions and the substances and then getting ready to go back into affordable housing or market housing eventually. So I think that there's actually a good line of opportunity that's been opened up here. Obviously, when you have an encampment like we have over on Ann Street where it's been active for over a decade, you're not going to fix that in a month. That's going to take a very, very, very long time to do. And so, we need to be able to start getting through that. I think the Heart Hub is going to allow for that to happen. I think the other thing, I've said this many times, is like, we live as a council on those who've come before us. And there's some incredible things, like you think about the water and wastewater and the beautiful beachfront we have and waterfront we have and the environment in our city. Sometimes there's some difficult things that you live on the shoulders of previous councils on, and this happens to be one of them, which is the amount of encampments and homelessness and the direction that the city had been taking on this issue. I think that we're taking a much stronger turn on this, which is we don't want to see injection sites. We want to see rehabilitative services. We want to see our parks cleaned up, as you saw with Bursey Park last year, as you saw with these encampments in the last couple of weeks. And we want to be also able to provide those mental health supports that we know have been lacking. I mean, I don't think there's an advocate on either side of the pendulum when it comes to injection sites or rehabilitative services that would say we're sufficiently financed in this province for mental health services. It's a major key part of this that needs to continue to have increased funding.
From the mayor's office on one side of Mulcaster Street to the David Busby Centre on the other side of the street, where Executive Director Sara Peddle has a front row seat to the encampment outside the courthouse, here again, Ian Maclennan.
Obviously, the number of tents have popped up at the Busby or across the street from there. Is that in relation to the encampment that was cleared?
So we're not really sure. Like, there are some people that have migrated over here from that encampment, but it's really just, the tents are popping up because there's just more and more people entering homelessness and just not enough spaces. So, yeah.
Do you know, as a shelter provider, what the county has provided at the Tiffin Street location in Sperling in terms of what those individuals can or could have accessed?
So I can't speak for the county, but I can let you know that what we know of the program is that there was tables and chairs that people could rest at, and it was more like a warming or a cooling center kind of environment. And that they could get access to food and hygiene supplies, and then they did have some resources coming in from housing and that kind of, and mental health and stuff to connect with people as well.
There was an assumption maybe by some people that there might be shelter beds provided there, And if not, and doesn't seem like it, does that make it more challenging for Busby? Were you allocated other beds or hotel vouchers?
So we have our 50 funded beds and then our 15 beds that we support through the community. So 65 beds every night that are full. We did open a cooling area over at 90 Mulcaster just during the day, but we were not provided any more shelter spaces at this time.
And that encampment that was in that area where the investigation, there was still a second location right there next to it that was not roped off. Was that entire encampment cleared out, do you know?
That entire space over there. So the encampment that was fenced off as well as the adjacent properties were all evacuated.
Did Busby workers go into that camp to assist as required, or you were aware of it?
So our team were there every day supporting the individuals that were staying in those encampments to be able to support them to get access to these resources that were put into place, as well as we set up some storage for people to be able to keep their belongings that they had accumulated. We have some people that have been staying in that encampment for many years. And so we were there to support, to make sure that they had transportation and support. As you can imagine, it was a heartbreaking situation. It wasn't just your typical situation there. And so our team was there for support of all of the individuals and making sure that they had somebody to connect with.
Do you know how long that encampment has been in that location there?
I recall at least 10 years. Some of the individuals that were there had been staying there up to 6 years. And I recall at least 10 years ago still having, not as big, but a couple of people staying in that area.
Do you have an idea how many were living in the encampment prior to the investigation?
So approximately 40 to 45.
The conditions were not ideal. That would be maybe an understatement. People living in those kind of conditions, you can't identify, but who were these people? Who are they? I know people like to label maybe they're addicts or they're, put a face on them.
So I look at it as this is a community, right? And this was one neighborhood within our community of people that happen to be residing outside. They are mothers and grandmothers and fathers and uncles and brothers. These are all individuals that are connected to people and connected to each other. So it was devastating to have essentially a whole neighborhood taken away from our community and without any, additional resources for housing, because that's really why this is happening in our community is we don't have enough housing for all of the people that are needing housing right now. And, the affordability just keeps, the gap just keeps growing of what people can afford to live in and then just the lack of units. So we are looking forward to new builds that are happening and new creative solutions so that we can get people in from these encampments and into housing so that they can have, some stability, right? So they've created stability outside, so can you imagine how much they can flourish with proper housing?
And I know there's been examples, Lucy's Place on Essa Street near the old Barrie Fairgrounds. Is that one of the success stories?
Yeah, so we opened Lucy's Place 6 years ago now. So that was a partnership with Redwood Park Communities and supported by the County of Simcoe. Yeah, it's definitely one of the projects that we're showing successes coming out of. So people that have been experiencing long-term homelessness, moving into those units that are affordable because they are subsidized, and then we have 24-hour support there to make sure that people, have the opportunity to find the housing that they need moving forward. So it's a transitional program. And then we also have Paula's Place, which is a partnership that we opened up with Elizabeth Fry Society in the county 2 years ago. It's at Tiffin in Innisfil. It's 14 units, and so that's permanent housing. And really we want to always see that we're finding permanent solutions for people's housing needs in our community. So those are definitely two projects that have been helpful.
I mean, people see the homelessness, maybe that, they drive by Busby, by the courthouse there, and the frustration. Oh, why not? Let's get them mental health help. Let's get them addiction treatment. Let's get them, snap our fingers, and it's going to happen. How challenging is it to access those services?
It's getting better, but there's still some barriers that need to lower. People are really wanting to get some support, but how do you actually expect that people are going to be able to take in that support if we don't have somewhere stable for them to stay? Maslow's hierarchy needs is that you need your foundation first before you can actually move through some of the other pieces. And so if we're not able to provide that as a community or as a country at this point, because it's everywhere, then how do we actually expect that people can take in that support of mental health and addiction? But again, it's not just that. Like, there's people that are just losing their jobs, losing their housing because the affordability is just so astronomical in our country right now.
And what is the role of the Busby in terms of the individuals who are across the street? They're in front of the courthouse where there's the perception, or people have seen it, the hard drug use and et cetera. Is Busby responsible for those individuals once they're off the property? Or their actions, I guess? Yeah,
so unfortunately we are not here to patrol or take authority over anybody. When people are on using our services, obviously we have expectations and guidelines. However, we are surrounded by municipal property and people are putting up tents. We have no authority to tell them to take them down, and we do want to still keep connecting with people, so we are connecting when they do come over to get support. But other than that, until we have housing solutions, we can't tell them to take anything down. We are working on, trying to figure out other solutions, but it is municipal property. So we're just doing the best we can to provide the services that we do on our property.
And people, maybe some, are frustrated by what they see and, social media. I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving Barrie. I'm going to go north, or they're going west, or what have you. Nobody's going to run away from this problem?
I've been traveling across Ontario a little bit, in my personal life, and was out in Ottawa the other day, and I'm seeing it everywhere. Like, even within our region, we're seeing it in all the towns and cities, but we're also seeing it across Ontario, across the provinces, across the nation, and it's really heartbreaking to see, because there are solutions. We need to have big investments in housing that's affordable to people, accessible treatments that are, again, low barrier, and making sure that people can be supported during that time in a longer-term way, so that people can get that stability for themselves. And these are, again, really resilient people. I feel privileged to meet a lot of the people, like most of the people that we see. Like, it's amazing what they bring to our community in positive ways too, of giving us insights to what's happening and what they need. We just need to listen to what they're saying and take that and put it into some resources that can help end homelessness in our country.
If you were given a face-to-face with the Premier, the Prime Minister, or the Mayor of Barrie, you've mentioned some, what would you tell them?
I think it's really about working together. I want to make sure that we are all in this together. Like, some people have the funding, and that can help alleviate some of this work and address some of this work. But then there's also the know-how, and that's really where we come in, is connecting and our partners around knowing what people need and how to approach some of these things, and again, hearing from the people, and we can help facilitate that too, that we need to have deep investments, but we also have to have communication. We have to have intersectoral or interministry meetings, because it's not just hitting one part of someone's life. There's lots of different pieces of social determinants of health that is happening for people that we need to be looking at in a bigger picture. But, we do need to start looking at how we can work together, and not about whose responsibility is what. It's all of our responsibility, and we're here for the solution. We hope everybody else is.
Now, you've been with Busby for almost 20 years, am I right?
18 years,
18 years. What has changed in your messaging, and what has, we talked about affordability and housing. What has changed in those 18 years that have made the situation worse?
I think I don't think my message has ever changed. I think we've always said we need more housing, we need more resources. I feel like it's kind of been, the same message, but I think that what people are dealing with and the trauma that people are experiencing while they're, experiencing homelessness, and, just being kind of turned out by some people in the community that they are the bad people. They're not. They're just trying to survive. I think that there is definitely substances that are a lot more intense, mental health, and, there's a lot more intensity around mental health as well, and maybe not so many avenues for people to get immediate help, or even agencies to get immediate help for people. So I think that's where the interministerial conversations come in, is we need to start looking at bigger solutions that are really affecting change instead of just continuing to talk about the problem.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley, joined again by Staff Sergeant Angie Butler from Barrie Police. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan.
You were here a couple of months ago, start of the summer, very excited about this new initiative downtown. And now you're back to tell us how great things are going.
Yeah, I just want to keep the narrative going with our downtown guardian and downtown engagement team. The officers down there are doing such a fun, enthusiastic, great job that I just wanted to share some of the things we've been up to and to let the community know that even though summer is coming to a close, our program still runs all year long, and our guardians will be down there, and so will our engagement officers.
And I saw some stats the middle of July, because it was about a month into the program, and looks like you're having a pretty good impact.
We are. So our program, if your listeners don't remember from last time, our program is kind of divided into two groups. We have our downtown engagement team, which consists of officers, team with special constables, and then we have our guardian program, which is a collaboration between the City of Barrie and the Barrie Police Service. So our guardians are special constables that go out and they do regular checks and community engagement between city buildings, being City Hall, the Barrie Public Library, the bus terminal downtown, places like Meridian. So just alone from that time frame that you're talking about, when they started on June 16th until, let's say, mid-July, we've had probably over 500 is a low estimation, because I'm sure that's almost doubled by now, of community engagement. So those are times that the officers have actually stopped, talked to people in the community, or provided resources, or was able to hook someone up with something that they needed. We've created an app for the guardians on their phones. So sometimes if you do see our officers with their heads down, that's because their phone is kind of like their mobile transporter. They do everything on there. So these engagements, we've had 344 proactive occurrences where they've saw something where someone needed help, or they were able to solve a problem, or just stop by the local library for, a kid's unicorns versus dragons match. I think it's really great what they do. Our social disorder that I know folks are sometimes, it's highlighted with them. We had well over 200 social disorder checks in the downtown and around Meridian Place, where we have a lot of our community events. And I can say there is quite a difference down there. The atmosphere down there, everybody has a space that they can be downtown, and we want everybody to partake in that space in a respectful and fun way. So we've been able to, the officers have engaged with people, and they're quite familiar with the folks that are down there that either live there, work there, or visit there. That's
a key to the whole thing, is people being familiar with each other, being able to reach out, knowing that somebody is there to help them if need be, but also with the people who are downtown who are living on the street. You get to know them too, and that creates a better understanding and more of a trust, I think.
Most definitely. We have so many success stories. I'll call them success stories because I feel that if you reach somebody, everybody has their own story of where they're at and how they got there. And I feel that if you can help someone even in the smallest way, that may not be big to someone else, that is a true sign of success and getting to know someone and building rapport. And we've had that. We've had people that we've been able to help hook them up with housing, get them resources that they needed, help that they needed. Other ones that, had no place to go and didn't know where they could go for help. And we've been able to do that. And that is a direct result of the officers that are down there and the guardians in particular. I mean, they are on every corner and smiling along the way, and they've done such a great job that the people down there know them, and they call them by name. I typically go down weekly and walk with them, and it's uncanny because they all call them out by name, and not the officers to the people down there, but the folks in the downtown. They know them by name, and they talk to them, and they have great, respectful conversations, and they know that they can go to them if they need to.
That's not to say that there aren't situations that are not as friendly, and you have to deal with those. But are you seeing fewer and fewer of those as a result of this initiative?
I think that the officers have a great, like you said, there are some situations that are not ideal. The officers are very much trained in de-escalation techniques and how to effectively manage what situations that they have. And I do find there is a difference. I find that things go a lot more smoothly with the officers down there knowing, and if someone's going through a crisis and they may not be acting as they want to act, the officers are really good at that. And I do find we've had a lot of community engagement down there. We've had a lot of proactive measures that we've taken and how we deploy and when we deploy. But we've also had the criminality and the social disorder that we are enforcing as well. And it has made a difference.
We're not any different in downtown Barrie than most other downtowns in cities the same size.
Oh, absolutely not.
People talk all how horrible it is here, and Barrie's just gone to pot and this and that, and it's not any different anywhere else.
We are not unique. People who are unhoused and addictions is across the board. It's across the country. We're not unique. We're not dealing with this alone. We do what we can for the people that are in our community, just like any other city.
And what's great, and you touched on it earlier, proactive. You're getting ahead of the game on all of this. You're not waiting for the phone to ring. You're not waiting for a call from dispatch. You're already there and have sussed it out for the most part.
And that is the key difference that you bring up. Very important point, Dan, because we have now tripled our number of officers down there, and because now we are getting to know people on a regular basis, our proactive occurrences are much higher than our calls that are dispatched. There is quite the difference. So what that tells me, and what should tell our community and your listeners, is that 100% this is working, and it's because we're down there and we're getting ahead of things. We're able to provide what a person needs before they get to a point where they feel they're in crisis.
A unique situation, well, maybe not so unique anymore, around the courthouse these days with the encampment there. What is the police role there? Because we hear from the public all the time, why haven't the police moved in? Why hasn't something been done? What is the police role in terms of what's going on there?
So our role, we are a support system to the city of Barrie and to our bylaw enforcement partners. We are there to help them, and we're there to help outreach as well. So the main goal, of course, the police will deal with any criminality. That is not secondary to anything. If something needs to be addressed, it will be addressed. But you need to look at the root causation of why these people are there, and we can't arrest our way out of this. So I think it really comes down to it's working with everybody collaboratively to figure out what can we do to make our way further down the line to help solving this problem. And the more we work with, the County of Simcoe and Outreach in the City of Barrie and all the other wonderful people down there, it's how we get people the resources they need to get them out of that situation. And that is the ultimate goal, is to help someone on a better path, whether it is getting them the help that they need, the mental health, the addictions help, and to find them interim shelter. That is the key. That's what we want.
You mentioned it's a partnership. You've got the municipal government, the county, the province. You've got police who are keeping an eye on the situation. You're dealing with a charter rights issue as well. So as you mentioned, you can't just swoop in and arrest people or move them away. There are a lot of different moving parts to this. There's
a lot of different moving parts, and case law tells us that, it's unconstitutional. We can't, someone's charter rights and they're in a tent and is it wrong then to take them out of that so now they're completely unhoused? So there's a lot of different moving parts. Like you said, Dan, it's just we just can't swoop in. We really need to find a better solution.
So you've got this guardian unit, the special constables. They're not full-fledged police officers, but they sound very enthusiastic, and I bet you're going to get a few new recruits out of this.
I certainly hope so, because they are such a dynamic group. I thoroughly enjoy working with them. They are refreshing, they're eager, they're motivated. They care so much, which is another reason why they're selected for those units downtown. They're just fantastic, and they are going to be police officers one day, and I hope they are, because I'd be honored to work with them.
The program runs year-round. It's not just a summer thing?
So right now, our downtown engagement team, we always have officers downtown. We usually have our special constables partnered with them during our more busiest times, and our examination of our data and our calls for service and times of the day kind of dictates our deployment, and how we deploy is dictated by the data that we look at and we've collected. But our Guardian program is brand new. So it just started in June, and it's till the end of this year. And then the city will look at it and in partnership with Barrie Police, and we'll go from there and what the decision is. But we have weekly letters of support coming in from members of the community and how much they love it and how great those folks are down there. So it's all positive.
And the business community downtown, how have they reacted to it all?
Oh, fantastic. They feel supported, they feel heard, and they feel like we're there to help them when need be. And I think it makes them feel better, because these officers, it's almost like their employee coming in every day to get their daily cup of coffee.
Thanks so much for the update. We'll look forward to another update in another month or two, because I'm sure you're going to have more good news to share, and keep up the great work.
Most definitely. Thank you, Dan.
And that's our story for this week. Thanks to Ian for his input, to Matt Latter for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. Maybe rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie 360, on our website, barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast, available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakeley. Hope you'll join us again next week.